Hello everyone, this course and presentation is called Introduction to iPad. This presentation was custom created by Cobalt Computer Consulting of Jupiter, Florida for the sole purpose of helping our clients to gain a basic knowledge and understanding of Apple and iOS devices. We're Apple certified technicians and are a functioning member of the Apple Consultants Network. Additionally, we can be found on Apple's website at consultants.apple.com. Further information and verification of our credentials. You can find us by typing in our zip code, which is 33477, or Jupiter, Florida, and you will come up. The presentation you're about to view is used to help large groups of people in our seminars. We often give those locally, and this is why it was created. For suggestions, questions, to point out problems with this or errors, please email us at cobaltflorida@gmail.com. Course focus. This pertains mostly to iPad 2, 3, 4, iPad mini, and iOS 6. It also pertains to pretty much all of the iPhones from iPhone 4 up currently. We're going to focus on the most important features for the casual everyday user. It's going to go from beginner to intermediate. We don't want to bore the intermediate users, but this is really more of a beginner course here with a few slight moves into the intermediate area. We have other courses we're developing that are more of an intermediate to an advanced that we'll be doing later. And mainly this is marketed, focused towards the average user, but also the business user. So we're going to show you some tricks and tips that are going to boost the productivity and your knowledge on overall functionality of Apple devices. So this is the brass tacks right here. This is just showing the layout of the iPad 2, 3, 4, or mini really generally. It's showing where the location of the certain buttons and inputs are, like the headphone jack at the top, the front facing camera, the power lock button, the volume switch and mute switch on the sides, and the home button. And underneath the home button is the charging dock where you'd insert your charging cable. These are some of the newer features in iOS 6. Apple integrated its Maps application in there, which it's got a long ways to go to catch up to Google Maps, but they're starting to get it. Siri will go into that, Facebook, and you can see some of these like Passbook aren't really utilized yet very much by really anybody, but down the road they probably will be. And we'll go into a lot of these shown apps here. These are some of the basic apps we're going to kind of go into. Safari for browsing the web. The App Store is where you're going to go to download all of your cool apps and games and productivity apps and things like that. Email, the mail icon. iCal for all of your scheduling and calendars. And general settings. These three apps right here are a pretty big deal. These are the alternative to Microsoft Office, which you can't currently get on the iPad right now or any iOS devices. So a good alternative to Microsoft Office would be these programs right here. You're going to need them when you get emails with certain documents to open, such as Excel files, Word documents, PowerPoint, things like that. My opinion on these apps right here is that they have a much cleaner, easier to understand interface than the Microsoft Office suite. So I actually use both Microsoft Office and the Apple iWork apps, which is what this suite would be called. But I actually have been using the iWork suite a little more because it's just a little more comfortable to use. Okay, so the first app in the iWork suite that we're going to go over is Pages. And this is essentially the same thing as Microsoft Word. It's a word processor. It's what you're going to use to, write documents, write letters, create flyers, brochures. There are a lot of templates pre-programmed, and when you first open it, you're invited to use them. It'll show them, and it's really easy and inviting to use. With this program, though, you will need to export your final document to a Word format so that people with PCs can read it and edit it and understand it. So you need to export it as a .doc document or a PDF. And a PDF is an uneditable version of a document. So if you create a contract or something with pricing in it, you may want to save it as a PDF, because PDF is pretty much viewable on every platform and it can't be edited by the other user. The other neat thing with Pages is if someone does send you a Microsoft Word file, you can use Pages to open and edit that file and manipulate it as much as you need to. So this is what you pretty much need to view Microsoft Word or Microsoft documents on a Mac. You can alternatively, on a Mac, you can purchase and download Microsoft Office for the Mac, but again, they don't make that suite for the iOS devices or the mobile devices like iPads and iPhones. So there's that one. And the next application in the iWork suite is Numbers. Numbers is essentially the same thing as Excel. This is what you're going to use to open and edit XLS files or Excel files that come from a PC. You can also, the same as Word or Pages, you can export them as PDFs, or you can export them as actual XLS documents so that people on PCs can open and edit them and view them as well. And this too has a lot of pre-designed templates with the formulas already built in. And when you first open it, again, you'll be shown all of these templates to choose from. You can also just create a blank one, but it's kind of nice that they suggest some of them for you. Keynote is essentially the same thing as Microsoft PowerPoint. When you see Apple give their large speeches on the big stage and announce all the cool new products every time, once a year or twice a year, that presentation on that giant screen is created within the same app I'm using right now, which is Apple's Keynote. And by the way, all of these apps can be downloaded from the App Store. They're about $20 a piece. I think that's pretty reasonable, since Microsoft Office currently is about $120 for the Mac. So it's a good alternative. Really easy to use. I actually had never used it before I created this presentation, and I just kind of jumped in with both feet and figured it out. So it really wasn't too hard, and that's coming from an unbiased user who's never used a presentation app before. It was pretty easy to use. And this also has some I think basic layout templates and different layouts of the slides and worksheets for you to choose from when you create this. So there's a lot of options in here, but using the minimal options you can get a lot done. Okay, so one of the basics here, we're going to go into connecting to a Wi-Fi network with your iOS device. You connect to Wi-Fi by going to the gray gear icon, usually on your front screen of your iPad or iPhone. It's called Settings, and then there is an option for Wi-Fi. When you touch Wi-Fi, you're going to be presented with a list of networks that are within your range. You might see 1, you might see 10. If you're in like a condo unit or something, you'll see a lot of them. Or you might not see any. And if you don't see any, it means there's no Wi-Fi in the area. But usually if you're in your home and you know you have a Wi-Fi network, this is how you're going to connect to it. So when you touch Wi-Fi, you should see the name of your network. Usually, most wireless routers come by default with a locked password on them to protect you for security. So if you see the networks, you're going to probably see a lock icon on your network, and when you click it, the lock icon means that you are going to have to enter a password to be able to surf the internet on your own Wi-Fi network. There is also an option called Ask to Join Networks at the bottom, and that is, if that's turned on, that means that you want to be notified when you walk into McDonald's or Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or wherever you go. You want it to pop up and say, hey, there's a wireless network here, would you like to join it? If you don't want to be hassled with that all the time, I would switch that off, and you still have the option to manually go in, like I just told you at the first bullet point, and manually select a Wi-Fi network when you get somewhere. You want to really kind of always try to connect to Wi-Fi if you can, for the most part, because it's going to be faster than your cell phone towers for the most part. Right now it is. Currently Wi-Fi is getting pretty fast. Or the cell tower technology, LTE, it's getting very fast, and it's not far off from being as fast as Wi-Fi in my opinion. But additionally, the reason you want to connect to Wi-Fi is you'll be able to connect to other devices on that Wi-Fi network. So if you have a wireless printer that is also on the same network, you can print to it. If you're not on the Wi-Fi and you want to print to your printer, you can't do that. One more reason to be on Wi-Fi would be if you're trying to watch what you're spending and you have a data plan. If you're surfing on Wi-Fi, no matter if you're streaming movies or downloading large files or whatever, it doesn't cost any more money when you're on Wi-Fi. But if you're doing that when you're on your cell phone towers or your LTE or 3G or 4G or your data plan, it's chewing up your data and it's costing you money. So just be aware of those. Those are the reasons why you'd want to be on a Wi-Fi network. Here's an example of what a locked Wi-Fi network looks like. So this is displaying a bunch of networks in our office here. And you can see that the top one with the lock on it is our secured business Wi-Fi network that we don't let our customers or the public onto. The fourth one down is a free network that we've got, and we just let the public connect to that and surf the Wi-Fi all they want. So that's what the locked and the unsecured networks without the lock icons look like. You click on an unsecured network and it doesn't ask you for a password. You just jump on and you're on the internet. It's that easy. Another option you've got is tethering. What you can do is turn your iPad or your iPhone into a wireless hotspot. What you would want to use this for is, for instance, let's say that you want to go to the beach with your MacBook and create a website or surf the web or whatever, and you don't have internet out there. Well, if you, with your provider, you can pay for an option to enable your cell phone or iPad to be a hotspot, so that you could connect your MacBook computer to one of those devices to be able to surf the internet. This is kind of a more advanced feature. Most people won't need this, but people like me who like to develop websites and not be stuck in an office and want to be able to have a nice view and work. That's why I pay for it. It's pretty helpful. It doesn't keep you tied to a to an office building or anything like that. So to turn that on, you have to go to settings and look for personal hotspot. It's usually right underneath the Wi-Fi area, but it's not going to be enabled. You have to first call your provider, get it set up, then enable it for that option to show up. And you do need to check with your provider. Currently, not all of the providers allow for tethering, but it's a neat option, so give them a call, and if that's something you're interested in, see if they have it. So here's some kind of cool tips to break the work thing that we're doing here and just kind of relax. One simple thing is you can organize your apps into folders on your iPad or iPhone, and to do that you're just going to hold your finger on any one icon for about 2 seconds and you'll see everything start to shake. And if you take your finger and drag one icon on top of another, you'll see that it will kind of create a folder, and it will pop up with an area for you to type the name of what you want to call that folder. So for instance, when I drag all of my weather apps onto each other, I'm going to name that folder weather. You can add up to 20 icons within each folder, so that's kind of helpful. It's great for organization. And you can see you can also drag all of your games into a folder and call it games, or all of your travel apps into a folder and call it travel. Continuing here, a couple of keyboard tips. If you double tap the shift key, it will put all of your keys into caps lock. There is no caps lock key visible on the keyboard on any of the iOS devices, so be aware when you double tap it, you'll see it turn a solid blue, and that means that you are locked in caps lock mode. Also, if you hold certain letters down on your keyboard, like the E for instance, you'll notice that several characters will pop up with options like, I don't know what you call the character at the end of resume with a little line above it on the E, but that option is there, things like that. So kind of experiment with that and just hold all the keys down and see what they produce. I mean, some of those things might be useful to you. Also, auto-correction works really well. So with what Apple's doing, and they're always honing and tweaking their operating system and apps, you pretty much can just type on the fly and not look at what you're doing. So if you don't know how to type, you just rattle away, and for the most part, if you spell a word wrong, the iOS will correct that word for what it thinks you meant automatically. then when you're done doing that, you want to kind of glance over everything you wrote before you hit the send or anything like that, because you'll probably have some more corrections, but for the most part it does a great job on its own. Dictation is a game changer. It's huge. This is part of Siri, but it's really kind of its own app at the same time. It's not really a two-way communication like Siri is. This is more of a one-way communication where you can now talk to your iPad or your computer or your iPhone. And again, there's stipulations to all of this. They need to be all newer products right now within the last year and a half or 2 years old. It's currently 2013 now. So for you to have the ability to use Siri or the dictation. If you have an older iPad, that's an iPad 1 or I believe an iPad 2, you can't use dictation or Siri on them. You do have an alternative though. You can download Dragon Dictation from the App Store for free, and it really does the same thing as the dictation portion of Siri does. So Dragon Dictation is not like a two-way communication application. It is more of a one-way just for dictation. And there's a few more steps with it, and that's why you really want to kind of maybe upgrade to some of the newer products so that it's just integrated, it's easier, it's built in, it's less steps, and it'll make you want to use the dictation more. This is kind of a test that I did and I want to show you the interface of how you enable dictation. So basically, anytime you see a keyboard anywhere on an iOS device, you'll see that microphone next to the spacebar. If you don't see the microphone, you don't have dictation or the ability to use dictation on your device. If you do see it, you have to kind of train yourself to remember it's there and start using it. And the more that you use it, the more you'll be reliant on it, and you won't even want to touch the keys on the keyboard anymore. I know I don't. So I've become pretty reliant on it. One of the big keys to this is the more you articulate yourself and the slower you talk and word everything correctly, it will grab everything perfectly. So you have to kind of learn its limitations and learn how to work with it, and it'll be a big deal at the end. So here's a kind of a basic list of dictation commands. If any of you have ever used dictation before, you probably know the majority of these. You can also Google, dictation master command list for Dragon or for Mac or Apple, something along those lines, and it'll give you there's I mean just a ton of dictation commands, and you need to kind of just hone in on the ones that you're going to use that matter to you, and it'll make you a lot more productive. So you can kind of study this little screen here, and you'll see that if you say the word period or exclamation or comma, it'll insert the punctuation into your sentences. So it's kind of neat to learn, and it's been a big help for me. So using Siri, you'll notice the microphone kind of looks like the dictation microphone for a good reason. But this is the Siri icon. Requirements: iPad 3 or newer, iPad mini. You have to have an internet connection for Siri to work, as well as dictation, I believe, now that I think about it. You need to have iOS 6. And what do I got here? If you do not have these and do want Siri, now it's time to go get one or buy refurbished from Apple.com. So yeah, what we do here, personally, I buy refurbished products from Apple.com. I don't even own a new computer or new iPad. I buy only refurbished because they come with a brand new, the same 1-year warranty as a brand new product from them. So you really have nothing to lose. So if you guys out there wanted to upgrade and get the Siri and get the latest dictation, I recommend going to apple.com, clicking the store icon, scrolling all the way to the bottom. On the left hand side you'll see refurbished products, and you'll save quite a bit of money if you go that route. Like I said before, dictation, you need to really teach yourself or force yourself to remember to use it. For the longest time, in fact still sometimes, I'll type a whole paragraph out and then I'll look down and see the microphone icon and kind of slap my head and go, why didn't I just use the microphone? So you do need to kind of remind yourself that it's there. The more you use it, the more you will remember to use it. You can get Siri to do a lot of things for you on the iPhone. and she interacts with you, so it's a two-way communication. The limitations, you have to kind of experiment with Siri to see how she's going to respond to things. You really can't say the wrong thing or screw it up. You just have to keep talking to her and learning what her what her limitations are and abilities are, and you'll get it kind of figured out. So to enable Siri, if you have the option available, you hold the home button down for 2 seconds and you'll see the Siri icon pop up and you'll hear it beep. And when you hear the ding or the beep is when you start talking. You'll see the microphone also moving up and down, showing that it hears your voice at that time. You can speak what you want Siri to do and then just stop and it will automatically process, or sometimes it won't process because there's background noise. So what I kind of do is I'll touch it, speak what I want her to do or what I want to say to her, and then I'll touch it again to kind of manually stop it. Otherwise it'll just sit there and linger if there's any background noise. So that's just kind of something you need to learn about Siri. So this is kind of a big deal. Most people don't know about this, and it's a huge tool. When you activate Siri by holding the home button down and you hear Siri beep or ding, you'll see this little tiny eye icon, and I don't have it on the visual picture over here, but that little tiny eye, if you touch that before you start giving Siri a command, it will pull up the screen that you see on this screen here. What that screen is it shows you and gives you suggestions on how to use Siri within each of these applications. So if you were to touch messages, you can see the green icon to the right that says tell Susan I'll be right there. That's a suggestion on how you would speak to Siri. Siri will know about you giving it that command. It wants you to send a text message to somebody. So you need to kind of go in there and read all of those options. It'll teach you just a ton about Siri and really boost your overall knowledge of how it's to be used. You can personalize Siri so that she'll be able to kind of connect the people or the places in your life and better direct you and better communicate with other people. If you go into contacts, this is where most of this stuff is done. And you can create, let's say there's a name of somebody that Siri's a computer. She doesn't understand, like, I don't know, a name like Vladimir. It's not going to know what Vladimir is. It probably doesn't know how to pronounce it. But if you went and gave Vladimir a nickname like Vlad or something shorter, it will be able to understand it better when you're trying to communicate with it. So this is something you have to play with and kind of see how that works. I've tested it. It works pretty well. But you have to kind of, this is one of those things that you got to kind of play with right there. You can also put, for your own contact card, you can put your work and your home addresses in there. So if you were ever using Siri and you said, show me how to get home from here or show me how to get to work from here, it will be able to give you a map and show you exactly that. Also, if you distinguish between your work and home phone numbers or mobile phone number, when you say call my wife at home or call my wife at work, it will know which number to dial. So these are just kind of personalization techniques, and they do help. They're pretty neat. So here's some commands you can give Siri. These are examples. When you hold the button for 2 seconds and you hear the ding, you could say, find me a good Italian restaurant nearby, and it's going to pull up all the restaurants nearby sorted by review. What's the weather going to be like tomorrow? Send a text to Bob and say, what time is our meeting tomorrow? You can kind of, I'm not going to go through all of these, you can kind of read through these, but these are all just examples that I've come up with on how to get Siri to, kind of communicate with you and give you answers and interact with her. So try some of those. We've got one more screen of some commands. You can say play Bad Fish by Jack Johnson. If it's on your phone, it will automatically open your music player and start playing it. Show me movie times and movies playing nearby. How many calories in an apple? You can even ask in a math question and it will give you the calculation. It's pretty amazing. Just test it and push it to its limits and see what it's capable of. But you can rattle off a really long math problem, and it somehow, I don't know, it's pretty amazing. So test its limits. You can also, if you have an iPad and you don't like the keyboard that's on it, you can either add a wireless Apple Bluetooth keyboard to it really easily, or you can buy a case. I know Zag makes a case that you can, it's kind of an all-in-one case that turns your iPad basically into a little laptop. So you can, I think, go to zag.com and look those up, and they're pretty neat, pretty useful. So let's say you've got a lot, well, you do have a lot of stuff on your iPad, you probably don't even know it. Your contacts, your calendars, your emails, your websites, your bookmarks, documents, notes, all of these things. After you become a pretty steady user, it gets to be pretty difficult to locate some of this stuff. Maybe you don't remember where you put it. So if you search with Spotlight, it's really easy. It makes it easy to find everything, and I probably use this more than almost anything on the iPad. If you're on your home screen, which is the first screen that you see after you unlock your iPhone or iPad, you can get to this little search box by swiping from left to right on the home screen, or by hitting the home button. I think it will knock over to this screen here as well. What it does, like I said, is if you can type anything in here, the name of a person, a word that's in an email somewhere, a calendar event that you can't seem to find. And what it will do is it will sort them by category. So whatever it finds with that one word in it, you can see here I just typed the letter J, and because there's nothing, this is a new iPad, there isn't a lot in there, it pulled up everything with, you know, a J that was related to it for one reason or another. But if I was looking for a contact and I didn't want to go to my contacts app, then click search and do all this, I could just come to this screen and type the name of the person, and it's going to show me every email we've communicated with each other on, a simple link to their contact, whatever calendar events they're related to with me in there. So it's, and if you can't find anything, you can just click search the web down there and it'll start finding it on the web. So it's a really useful tool. AirPrint's kind of a big deal too. This came out just about 2 years ago, and there are some stipulations to it. Here it says more than 75 printers now print from iPad. I think that's a lot more. Almost everybody's adopted this real quick here. So almost every printer you see now is going to be iPad or AirPrint compatible. We've been using the HP printers for the last couple years because they were kind of the first ones to adopt it that got it right and made it easy to set up and just kind of consistently worked across the board. We tried with Epson, Brother, everybody, and they were all kind of buggy and finicky. So we've been using the HPs for about 2 years, and they're pretty reliable as far as setup and communication with the iOS devices. AirPrint will generally not work with any printer that is over 1.5 years old. That means if your printer is over 2 years old right now, you can pretty much guess you're going to want to donate it and go buy a new printer with AirPrint compatibility if you want to print from your iPads and your iPhones in your house. That's just the way it is. Unfortunately, printers are built cheap and they aren't very expensive, so you need to go get a more compatible one. You will need to have a Wi-Fi network for AirPrint to work. So you need to have a technician like us or yourself if you can figure it out. It's not too hard to do nowadays. There's a little screen on the front of the printers, and you need to make sure that you log into and put it on to your local network, and that your computer or phone or iPad is also on your local network. And after that's all done, all you got to do is look for this little icon over here on the 5th bullet point. When you tap that, that's where your option to print is at. Another feature that's come out is FaceTime. And what's cool about this is I noticed that the first time I saw this was in the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey, where the gentleman sat down and called his daughter on like a TV screen and they could see each other and talk real time. So that was a really futuristic concept back then, and Apple's kind of brought it all the way around now. Skype's been doing it for a while. But if you have an Apple device, the fact that they've kind of integrated it into all the Apple products, it's a bunch of less steps to get to, and it's just easier to use. The only thing with FaceTime is that it only connects Apple device to Apple device. So if you have a friend who has an Android phone or a PC and you want to see them and talk to them real time, you're going to still need to download Skype for Mac and go that route. You need to have an Apple ID and Wi-Fi and an Apple computer or device that's compatible. I just went over that. You can now do FaceTime over cellular, which is pretty cool, so I can walk right down the street and talk to one of my buddies face to face, all the way up in whatever state that I want to talk to them in. But you do have to see if that option is available with your carrier, and it does. I think it costs a little more money. I think it's the same thing as adding the tethering plan to your plan. So you need to call your provider and find out what the stipulations are to get that enabled. This is Safari. This is basic web browsing. This is what you're going to use to go search Google, go out on the internet, go shopping, all of that. This is probably one of the most important icons on your iPad. There's something called tabbed browsing. I'm not going to go deep into that right now, but that is if you want to have multiple pages open, that's what you're going to use. It's changed from separate open pages to separate open tabs within one page now. And we'll go into it a little bit in a little while here. You cannot view Adobe Flash on an iPad or an iPhone. The reason being, for the most part, Apple's deemed Adobe Flash to be a buggy software, and I totally agree. It's been buggy forever. It can slow a computer down. It can make a computer act funny. So I think Apple decided, hey, we don't want our devices running or the operating system being compromised to make them run bad. So we aren't going to allow this one form of technology onto the mobile devices. You can get it on a Mac computer and view videos and flash content on a Mac computer. You just can't on portable devices, and that's just the way Apple wants it. So don't worry about it too much, though. It's not that big of a deal. The whole web's being redesigned in HTML5, which is kind of the same thing. It kind of does the same thing as Flash. It makes animations and things able to move in web browsers. So that's not really that big of a deal anymore. It's not too far off on the horizon. Google's built right into Safari, so when you open Safari, you can either search right from the address bar, which is the large white bar at the top, or you'll notice that there's a search bar all the way in the upper right hand corner that is always there. And that is basically your Google search. Anything you type in there and you hit search or enter, it's going to go to Google and show you Google results. So Google's kind of built right into it. You can, by the way, on your iPad, rotate it to landscape mode, and it will give you kind of a larger view of the web. It's a little better browsing experience. That is that I just want you to be aware of that. If you want to, instead of holding it up and down, if you hold it to the side, it'll kind of bring you a bigger view. Also, if the text is too small when you're on the web or anywhere on the iPad, pretty much, you can pinch to zoom in, or you can double tap on an area to zoom into it and then double tap again for it to zoom back out. This is the top of Safari. This is the navigation bar. So this goes over what all the things at the top of the Safari app are. First, you can see that there's two tabs, one that says iPhone Repair, the other that says Cobalt Computer Consulting. These are pages within each tab. So this is what I was saying before, how you've got multiple tabs instead of pages nowadays. You can have 30 of these tabs open. Different reasons why you'd want to. Some you just don't want to close because you want to come back to them and research them more. But so that's what tabs are, and that's why that little X is there. If you click that little X above the closed tab text right there, that would close that tab, and then you'd only have one page open. So that's why that's there. Above that are the back and forward buttons. Those are going to be darkened when they're available to be clicked. So if I were to click a link within this iPhone Repair link, the back arrow would turn black, meaning I have the option to go back a page. Right now they aren't darkened or black because it's a brand new web page, and it means I haven't been backwards or forwards in it. But that's how you go backwards and forwards in web pages. The bookmarks icon, that's when you save bookmarks that you want to come back to. You would click that to show the list of bookmarks that you've made. iCloud tabs is new. that little cloud icon means that if you have multiple computers and iOS devices and phones and iPads and you've got different websites open in all of those, when you click this cloud icon, you'll be able to see all of those pages on all of those devices. So that's a new feature. It's pretty cool. Most people won't use that, but it's cool that it's there. The little curved arrow, the options icon that I've got up there, that is where you're going to find your print and where you're going to save your bookmarks. It's a pretty important icon. It changes not only location on Apple products, but also the icon itself kind of changes. The one thing to remember across the board though is that it's always a curved arrow. So whenever you see that curved arrow, think to yourself options. That's where your options are. Off to the right in the upper right hand corner where it says search, like I said, is kind of your Google search bar. It's built in. And then the add tab, the little plus over there, which we're not going to get into right now. So the options icon, the curved arrow, if you click that curved arrow, you're going to see you get the option to email this page to a friend, to text this page to a friend, to tweet a link to it, blah, 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 blah. But the big important ones for most people are going to be printing the page and bookmarking the page. So that's what is within that options. That curved arrow is the important options you need. So let's say you come to a website and you want to remember it and you don't want to have to find it again tomorrow. You want to always remember where it's at, so it's just one click and you're there. If you touch the curved arrow icon, once you get to the page you want to save, you'll see, which I'm going to call the options icon, you'll see an option to click bookmark. When you click bookmark, the bookmark icon, it's going to allow you to name the bookmark. For the most part, it's already going to have a name in there. I would just leave it alone and just click save, and now it's saved to your bookmarks. And how you would go review that is you would now click the icon, I think it's 2 over from there, of the open book icon. When you click the open book icon, that is where all your bookmarks are stored, and you'll see it in there now. The purpose of iCloud tabs is so that you can view what pages are open on all of your other devices and computers. Like I said, not everybody's going to use that, but it's a neat new option. I've only used it a couple times, but it's helpful. I'm glad it's there. Saving images in Safari. So let's say you're browsing the web and you are looking at pictures of dogs or cats or something, and you want to save one of those pictures because you want to send it to a friend or you just want to keep it as a desktop wallpaper. All you have to do, and this is kind of one of those gray areas, but for the most part all you have to do is hold your finger on that picture, and if you hold your finger there steadily, you'll see 2 options pop up: save image and copy. If you click save image, it's just simply going to put it in your photos icon. It's going to put it in your photo roll or your camera roll, or it's going to put it where your photos are stored on your iPad. And that's all you really need to know is once you hit save, you're not going to get a confirmation that it's been saved. You're just going to have to kind of understand that it has been saved. To go check and see if that photo was saved, you would hit the home button to get out of the web that you're in, and you would touch the photos icon wherever it may be. It's the little sunflower icon, I guess, and go there and view the photo, and it'll be in there. It's pretty easy. Here's mail. To set up mail, when you first go click the envelope, if you haven't got one set up, you're going to be presented with this screen, and this screen is going to give you your general options. These are the most popular email services out there. So you could just simply click Gmail if you have a Gmail account you want to set up, or we could get into, the option other at the bottom is more if you have your own personalized email. It's a little more complicated, but for the most part everybody has one of these email services. And like I said, it can be very difficult if you have your own domain, i.e. Alan@alangarner.com. The people who give you that email address are going to have very specific settings most of the time, so you're going to need to call them and ask them what settings you plug into that area there. It's a little, like I said, a little more complicated. The neat thing is you can have multiple email accounts on all of your devices and computers. I have about 9 of them, and I think I've only got 5 set up on my iPhone, but on my work computer I have all of my email addresses set up. So I get mail from 9 different accounts on that computer, and they're built to do it. So it still runs real well with that, and it doesn't slow anything down. It's something you're supposed to do nowadays. It's okay. We prefer email accounts by Gmail and iCloud because of a technology called IMAP. Some of the older email formats or services like I think, and they may be changing this now, but a big one is AOL was using what's called Pop Mail. I think Bell South still uses that. Yahoo still uses that, but I think they are changing it, or you have to pay for it. But IMAP, the reason IMAP's better than Pop is because Pop Mail, if you delete an email on your computer, well, now when you go look at your email on your phone, you'll see that that email hasn't been deleted from there. You have to manually delete it from that one too. The reason we suggest Gmail and iCloud is because it uses IMAP technology. And IMAP is kind of like all of the iCloud syncing. You don't have to think about it. If you get a new email, it's going to show up on all of your devices. If you delete that email from any of your devices or computers, it's going to delete from everywhere else. So that's why if you want something to kind of sync consistently across everything like the iCloud ecosystem does, we recommend Gmail over iCloud for an email address. So you can go to gmail.com and set one up and get going with that. This is what the mail interface looks like. Those are, on the left-hand side, are emails that have come in. The right-hand side is kind of the area where you would be reading your email. There's not a whole lot in this one. This is just a test, but this is kind of what the interface looks like, is all I'm trying to show you. This is the top of the email application. If you click mailboxes, that's where all of your email accounts are located. For the most part, where it says inbox next to that, that's the email account you're going to want to be in, is inbox, because that's going to show you all of your mail. If you click that mailboxes icon, though, that's where a bunch of folders are hidden, like your trash and your outbox and your spam, and so you can get to it that way. Let's see, when in an inbox, edit allows you to perform multiple tasks as opposed to individual tasks. So for instance, if you had 50 emails showing in your inbox and you didn't want to delete them one at a time, you could hit edit and then tap several of them and then hit the trash icon, and they'll all be thrown away just like that. So that's kind of really the main point of what edit does, is so you can select multiple things and delete multiple emails at once. The flag icon, this is kind of used to visually give yourself an idea of an important email that you want to come back to. So I use flags to, like I said, if there's something I want to reference, I don't want to reference it right now, I want to handle it later tonight, I'm going to flag it so I see a visual flag next to it to remind me to go back to it. You can also mark your message as unread by clicking that flag icon, which is kind of the same thing. You either flag it or mark it as unread to remind yourself that it's kind of important and you need to address it. Move, if you are a fan of folders and you want to organize your mail into folders, you can use this to move certain messages from the inbox to an individual folder. Trash, all you do is click the message, you hit the trash can, and away it goes, it's gone. This again, you'll see that this icon's changed. It's a curved arrow pointing a different way without a box on it, but it is a curved arrow. So that's how I kind of try to people to look for that. I try to tell them curved arrow, curved arrow. That's a big deal. Within this curved arrow, there are going to be different options because this is mail. And those different options, when you click it, you're going to see reply, forward, and print. So again, there's pretty important stuff in the options arrow, and you're going to, like I said, you're going to use that to do your printing. So let's see. This is how you're going to compose a new message. It's kind of a little pad of paper with a pen on it. You click that to create a brand new email message, and the email opens up and lets you, put who you want to address it to in the to field, carbon copy, blind carbon copy, the subject field, and your actual message. So we just went over that. Blind carbon copy is kind of I had a customer ask me about this recently. Proper etiquette is what kind of comes up with this. If you're going to send an email to a bunch of your friends, you generally want to use the blind carbon copy area to enter all of their addresses, because if you use the carbon copy area, everyone that you send that message to is going to see everyone else's email addresses, and a lot of people don't like that. So I recommend clicking the BCC field or the CC field, and when you click that field, it'll expand and the blind carbon copy field will be there. I recommend you enter addresses into there if you're going to do a big email blast to friends. Subject area, you've got the message area. You can also see where it says sent from my iPad. That's just kind of by default programmed by Apple. You can go in there and customize your signature to say whatever you want. You can have your name and your email address and all of that stuff. And that option's located in the gray gear icon on your front screen under Settings and Mail. You'll see where it will say Signature. To add a photo or a video to your email, if you hold down in the middle of the blank message area, you'll see an option pop up that says Insert a photo or a video. Alternatively, if you wanted to do something like that now, you could just go to your Photos icon and browse your photos, find the one you like, and then you can, we're going to go into this more, but you can touch the Edit and the Share link, and then you can share directly from the photo icon. So there's, on Macs and iPads, there's almost always 2, 3, or 4 different ways to do things, but this is one of those ways to insert a photo or a video. Here's iCloud. What is iCloud? The way I explain it is like this. iCloud does a lot of things, but the most important things that you need to focus on to get things in perspective is that iCloud syncs contacts, calendars, and mail between all Apple devices and computers. It does a lot more, but those are the things that I want you to concentrate on right now. Additionally, the other big thing that it does is it sends complete backups of all of your devices to iCloud. This includes your text message history, your pictures, your apps, all those things. So the big purpose of the backup is that if you were to take your phone and throw it in the ocean, nowadays you can just go buy a new phone, and when you first open it up, it's going to say welcome to iPhone or welcome to iPad, blah, blah, blah. It's going to ask you, do you want to sign in with your Apple ID or your iCloud ID? When you sign in with your iCloud ID, it'll also ask you, do you want to set this up as a new iPad, restore it from an iCloud backup, or restore it from an iTunes backup? If you click Restore from an iCloud backup and you've signed in with the right Apple ID, it's going to show you the last backups that your phone did. Hopefully it was last night. You can tap that, and within 5 minutes to an hour, however much data you have, that iPhone or iPad will look exactly like the one you just lost in the ocean. So that's a big deal. You do need to enable that option to turn on iCloud backups though, and I think we go into that, but if not, you can contact us via email and we'll let you know exactly what settings to hit. But that's kind of a neat thing, because if you enable that option, you don't have to think about it. When you plug it in to go to sleep at night, it does a backup every single night. So that's kind of a big deal. iCloud also, you use it for PhotoStream, iMessage, and a bunch more, but like I said, we aren't going to go into that stuff right now. It's mainly the 2 top bullet points are the big deal that you need to remember. One huge misconception that people, they don't understand, and I can understand why people think it does, but your computer is not backing up to iCloud. Your computer has a lot more data than these devices, so normally you're going to have an external hard drive, and you've got something built into your Mac called Time Machine. So go buy an $80 or $90 hard drive, get a 500 gigabyte or a 1 terabyte, and use that. You plug that into your computer. It'll ask you if you want to use this hard drive as a backup for Time Machine. You say yes, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. But your computer is not backing up to iCloud. Your computer is backing up your contacts and calendars to iCloud though. But the whole computer, your photos and all that, those are not being backed up to iCloud, so be aware of this. We're not going to get into that right now. So here's iCal or Calendar. You can create a new event. When you open this up, you'll see that there's a plus and this moves depending on the device or the Mac computer or iPad. Sometimes the plus is in the upper corner, sometimes it's in the lower. On the iPad though, it's in the lower corner. So if you click that plus, you can create a new event, and this is the screen that you'll get. Just enter the title of the event, you know, say dinner with Bob or whatever. Location, you can put an address in, and the neat thing about that is you can tap that address after you're done editing, and it will show you a map on how to get to wherever the event is. That's kind of a neat deal, especially if you're sharing the event with an invitee. If you invite somebody to an event, they can also just tap that address and it's going to show up with a map. That's what the invitees is. If you have a friend who you know their email address or they're in your address book, you can touch invitees and invite them, and they'll get an email asking them to accept or decline the invitation. If they accept it and they have an Apple device, it's going to automatically add that event to their calendar for them. So that's kind of a neat thing. The alert setting, I use this a lot. There's actually an option in settings to set a default alert for everything you create, which I do. I have a default alert for 15 minutes before everything that happens in my life, so I'm never late for anything. But you can manually enter an alert for, let's say, 2 days before the event or 3 hours before the event, and you can enter multiple alerts. So I usually do 15 minutes and an hour before important events. And then you've got calendar. The calendar category, you can create as many calendars as you want. For example, for myself, I have my own personal calendar. I have a calendar for my wife so that I can put things into her calendar. I have a calendar for my business and for my technicians. And so when I create an event, I put it into that calendar category, and I've got them separated by color. So what's neat is when you want a visual reference of what's going on with your day and who's doing what, you can just simply glance at your calendar and see how busy it is, kind of like on the screen here. There's a bunch of different views at the top. You've got day, week, month, year, and list view. And list views, we're going to go over these views real quick. This is what the week view looks like. So this is just showing you 7 days of what's going on. Here's the month view. Now, it's not going to show you every event on every day here because it can only show you so much. But if you double click that day, it will show you everything that's going on that day. The year view, well, skip that. Yeah, we're not going to go into year view apparently, but the list view is just going to show you everything from today forward that you've got going on in just a list. So you just kind of need to play with those views to see which works best for you. But those are what the view icons are at the top there. We wanted you to be aware of that. Contacts. Here, you open the Contacts application, and there's a plus at the bottom. This is for the iPad. There are more buttons on a Mac where you can create groups and things like that, but for now on the iPad, as far as I know right now, you can't create groups. So we're going to focus on just adding contacts right now. So again, with iOS, anytime you see a plus, it means add. So if you click that plus, you're going to be presented with this screen right here. You have the option to add a picture of the person. So if you have a newer iPad, you could literally touch add photo and take a picture of them right there, and it's going to add that picture to their contact. So when they call you on your phone or when you send them an email, it's going to have that picture. So it's more for personalization. It's kind of fun to use. Customizing fields. When a field is blue when you're entering information, it usually means if you click it, you can either create a custom field or it'll have suggested fields like, for example, here with the phone, there's mobile, work, home, fax, things like that. Notes is kind of a pretty big area for me. Actually, you get to this by, let's see, on the iPad, I can't remember right now, but there's at the bottom, there's an option for additional fields, and there are a bunch of fields in there like anniversary or spouse's name and things like that. But there's also a field for notes, and I always put notes in because, I mean, it's just really helpful to put little notes about the people you meet so you can kind of remember things that have happened. So I use that an awful lot. And that's where it's located, right there. The very bottom of that screen, it says Add Field. That's where you would click to add the notes field, or to add the anniversary field, or to add the birthday field. Go explore that area. It's kind of neat, and I just want you to be aware of that one too. When you're done adding a contact, you need to click Done in the upper right hand corner there. It's kind of funny. Sometimes on a Mac, if you don't click Done, it'll kind of automatically save it, but on an iPad and an iPhone, for the most part, I think you got to click Done to save it. So be aware of that, and it's a good thing to remember anyways, is to always click Done or Save when you're finished editing something. So the beauty of information: touch the address of a contact and Apple Maps will automatically open and display the address to you. That's one really cool integrated feature that's happening on the iOS devices and pretty much all mobile devices for every manufacturer now. But it's just kind of nice that it's bringing this to you. It's making everything real easy to get to. See, and it shows you the address. You could touch the little car icon. It'll give you directions there. The information button will give you more information about that location and things like that. So like I said, that car icon, as soon as you touch that, it's going to ask you which route you want to take to get there. So no matter where you are in the world, it'll give you directions. It's pretty neat. And here's the routes, Route 1 and Route 2. You can just choose which one you want, and when you click Start, it's going to start talking to you, depending on which device you've got, and directing you to that location. The eye icon will give you turn-by-turn directions in a list, I believe, and you can share the address with a friend, and you can save it as a favorite address so that you can pull it up a lot faster and easier in the Apple Maps application. This is kind of what it looks like when you click the eye for information. You see that it gives you the address and directions to here, directions from here, add to bookmarks, and report a problem. If the business is closed or something, you can click that and Apple will update their information. That's going to do it for this one, and if you have any questions, you can get a hold of us at the websites at the bottom, geeksquash.com, and you can email us at cobaltflorida.com. Thanks a lot.